Spring is here. A spring in which the world is more quiet than ever, in more ways than one. I suppose this video is a little outdated. After all, Your Lie in April came out in 2015. I watched it in high school, and while I thought it was good, I didn't dive as deep into it as I would have liked to. Watching it over these past few weeks has been very interesting. It has reminded me so much of my past, of the people in my past, and of myself. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Your Lie in April is an anime about many different themes. Though appearing lighthearted on the surface, there's so many underlying messages. PTSD, the power of music, the realization and subsequent wrestling with unexpected feelings or emotions, terminal illness, abuse, overwhelming expectations and hopes, and the inevitable reality that some will die far before their time. Depressing, huh? Despite these somber tones of Your Lie in April, it hits home one of its core themes, that anyone at all, can bring color to someone else's life. After all, an artist in any medium will tell you, having something be colorful and vibrant is a compliment, whether it's the imagery, the characters, the writing, or the themes. A simple search on the internet would tell you that the word colorful means full of excitement, or lively. Color. From beginning to end, Kaori Miyazano is the focus of a large majority of scenes, and even those she isn't physically in. Perhaps it is said best by Kosei Arima, the main protagonist of the show. The moment I met her, my life changed. Everything I saw, everything I heard, everything I felt, all of the scenery around me, started to take on color. I think everyone longs to meet the one person who they will hold especially dear, whether romantically or platonically. That one person who changes our bland and drab perspective of life and invigorates it with an array of vivid and vibrant colors. No one is completely colorless. And sure, we all have numerous shortcomings and flaws, but it's these struggles and flaws that help us to push forward, to be our very best, whether for ourselves or for others. A fellow pianist named Takashi Aiza tells Kosei that in the face of adversity, that's when you'll know if someone's the real deal or not. We've all had challenging moments in our lives. Some blown out of proportion, others not so much. Some extremely serious. But these challenges shaped us and molded us into the people we are, for better or for worse. Maybe these things make us see everything tinted in a gray hue. When Your Lie in April begins, we see a boy who is crushed by his past and captive to his pain. A boy who is downcast and deflated. A boy who sees the world through a monotone color. A barren past and a lively present. And the anime exhibits this difference brilliantly, with splashes of vibrant color all throughout the backgrounds, landscapes, and the characters themselves. The show doesn't just exhibit color to us visually, it also does it auditorily through its wonderful soundtracks and musical bits. Kosei was often called the human metronome because of his unmatched ability to play the musical notes of the score perfectly. In terms of technique and mechanics, he plays to near perfection. But there's something missing. Though I hated it then, I actually quite enjoy piano now. I've tried my best to learn at least one piece every break, and piano has quickly become my favorite instrument in terms of how it sounds. But that came from my struggles and challenges regarding piano itself. I've played piano for a long time. My brothers learned piano before me, so I was also forced into it. If my memory serves me correctly, I started piano at the age of 4, learning from my aunt. I must confess that I was a terrible student. I didn't practice, I didn't show passion, and when I would play for recitals, I would be as stiff as a board. I would play only not to embarrass myself, to play as faithfully to the musical score as I could. I would say that I hated piano as a child. My older brother and I used to joke that if you switched the I and the A in piano, it became paino. Because that's what piano was. A pain. One of the greatest embarrassments of my life comes from a particular spring recital performance. I was much younger then. This particular recital was in a music store, and I arrogantly decided that I didn't need to practice. So the night before, I slept over at a friend's house and got very little sleep. And even after that, when I got home, I didn't practice. So then it was my turn, so when I got up to the piano, I was trembling. When I got through my first song successfully, I felt great. And then when I got to my second song, I made a minor mistake and froze up. Sometimes the audience doesn't spot mistakes, but I know for a fact that everyone saw mine, because I tried to replay the ending 3 times, and I failed to play it correctly all 3 times. My mind went blank. And I'll never forget that feeling of shame that overcame me when my music teacher whispered to me that I should just go on. Music can invoke different feelings, and there are so many techniques that influence it. Some basic ones might include adjusting the tempo, increasing or decreasing the sound, or adding motion to the performer's body. There's a huge difference in a musician who is clearly enjoying their music, and one who is anxious, nervous, or frustrated. It comes out rather plainly in the music itself, even if the notes and rhythm are mechanically perfect. And if everything is wrong, well, I wonder how I looked to the audience, and especially to my high school piano teacher during that recital in spring. Burdened by his past, Kosei lacks passion, energy, or motivation to see anything through. And then he meets Kaori. And from that moment forward, his life begins anew. Recently, I was talking to my friend Lark about what she thought the central theme of Your Lie in April was, and after a couple days of deliberation, she told me that she thought the central theme of the anime was about living life fully and boldly, about living life without fear, about living life colorfully and with passion. This is a lesson that Kosei learns over the course of the series. As he learns to live life with color, he experiences and feels life for all that it is. The painful parts of his past, the joys of the present, the beauty of the world around him. For the longest time, I wanted someone to bring color to my life. Someone who would inspire, influence, and encourage me to be better. Someone who I could look up to. And I think we all want that. Living in a world full of gray is crushing. I know that all too well as someone who struggled with depression and self-esteem. The difference we see in ourselves before and after meeting a person full of color is like night and day. It is amazing to see Kosei's progression as a character throughout the series once he begins to view everything in color. And subsequently, he manages to show a glimpse of color to Kaori's life in return. He helps to make her life a full one. Our lives are so short. We have a limited amount of our most precious resource, time. But despite that, we can still make a huge impact. And while we'll never know when our lives or the lives of others might come to an abrupt end, we can still bring color to someone else's life, even in the smallest of gestures or words. We can be for others what Kaori and Kosei were for each other. We can be unforgettable, a flash of color on an often dreary day. And maybe, just maybe, the light can even reach the bottom of a dark ocean.